Good morning to the media who we invited to this press conference today, and we're very happy that you are here. Good morning to you. Thank you. We, the members of the cabinet, thought that we should at this point have a press conference so that the public can hear our views on issues that I know are very much on the minds of all of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, but more importantly, to give some indication as to the developments that are taking place in the country at this time through the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. And that is really the purpose for the press conference this morning. And so we want to start by asking our Senior Minister, Dr. Earl Assay Martin, to make an opening statement.
Thank you very much, Honorable Master Library, members of the press, citizens of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Statement of the National Responsibility, elected and nominated members of Cabinet, Government of St. Kitts and Nevis, January 31st, 2013. There has been much public speculation and debate in recent months on a range of topics. Many of them have to do with relationships within the Cabinet. We have chosen until now to remain silent because we took a conscious decision as a Cabinet not to engage our colleagues in the public domain, since that could not be in the best interest of our party and government. The back and forth exchanges in the media among members of the same cabinet can only serve to create an air of instability, which is what some would wish for. Secondly, we hope that our differences could have been resolved amicably after numerous attempts to do so. A number of developments in recent weeks, however, for example, the removal of the representative from constituency number 7 from the cabinet, and the passage of the Senator's bill just 2 days ago, with 2 members on the government benches voting against it, suggests that the time has come for all our voices to be heard. Firstly, as members of cabinet, we have been taken task with the responsibility of managing the nation's business. And as a small nation determined to survive and indeed to thrive in this oftentimes unkind global environment, we decide that now, more than ever, all our energies and all our focus had to be directed on ensuring that, at the end of the day, the needs and aspirations of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis are being addressed. We have chosen to forge ahead with the construction of low-income homes for those in need, to pave and resurface roads, to aggressively pursue tourism development, and to upgrade water lines and put people to work in a tough and global economic climate. We as members of Cabinet each have our distinct portfolios. At the same time, however, we are keenly aware that we are members of one government, one cabinet, with one overriding purpose to constantly strive to make St. Kitts and Nevis ever more secure, ever more prosperous. In a nutshell, to expand opportunities for the people of this country. We have always understood, therefore, how important it is for us to ensure that both our individual as well as our collective efforts overlap and intersect with such a way that Kittitians and Nevisians would face each day confident and secure in the knowledge they are citizens of a well-managed and a highly respected member of the world community of nations. Do we as members of Cabinet always agree? Absolutely not. If we did, our decisions as a Cabinet would lack the vibrancy and the resilience that results when there is individual and independent thought. And as so in Cabinet, everyone put their best analysis and recommendations forward to be tested by the equally independent thinking of our colleagues. so that at the end of the day, the best thinking and the best decisions are put forward in the best interests of the nation. We aim for one voice. The ideal, however, is not always possible in the real world. And so when one voice is not possible, we do what most properly functioning deliberative bodies do. We move forward, or we pause, or we retreat by consensus. I repeat, by consensus. The ill-informed notion that we are all roughshod over and we are a bunch of yes men is quite unfortunate and frankly disrespectful. We respect others' opinion even when we disagree, and we hope that our opinions are respected too. With this approach, an approach that has worked remarkably well for the past 17 years, and indeed an approach that has worked superbly in nations around the world, we have been able, and I must say in a humility, to produce wonderfully for this nation. We have been able to deliver, and so that all of us are assembled thought that today would have, and so all of us here assembled thought that today would be an opportune time to share with you just some of the ways in which, despite all that was going on in the public square, we have been managing the nation's business. We trust that you are by now aware that the International Monetary Fund has just announced that the inflation in St. Nevis is way down. In addition, the government's tireless efforts to attract and approve key stimulus projects in construction and other areas has resulted in the IMF issuing a revised projection of a 2% growth rate in the economy of the Federation in 2013. Our ongoing land and house projects continue the upward trajectory. We have intervened with the cable to halt their planned increase in rates. We have similarly intervened with Skelec to halt their announced plans to increase electricity rates. We care for the poor and ordinary people of the community. The 2013 budget is to be presented in the Parliament shortly so that the public servants can continue to be paid, that the country's hospitals can function and may be provided with critical supplies. In Cabinet, we understand that one voice is not always possible, and we understand that, and we so understand and embrace the ethos of collective responsibility. Within this context, we, with diligence and commitment, attend to the nation's business. Along with the Prime Minister, Denzel Douglas, we meet the important responsibilities that they are ours with the very best interests of our nation at heart. I will now defer to my Cabinet colleagues for any comment they may have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lassie Martin. And may I, as the moderator, just add that the decision to assemble here this morning was taken on Tuesday after the vote in Parliament. We thought that we should step forward to address the nation today via the media, and that is why we are here today. We have learned via a letter hand-delivered this morning, but dated yesterday, that the Honorable Sam Conda has resigned from the Cabinet. I'm sure you, the media, and all the public at large would not be surprised by this, based on all that has been going on over the past months. We wish, however, to use this opportunity to thank the Honorable Sam Conda for his years of service and wish him well. However, the purpose of this morning's press conference is to talk about the work and accomplishments of the government. And so I would ask my colleagues to each give probably just 2 minutes of some of the most important initiatives that are being undertaken in their various ministries. And I'll start with the far right.
Far right, that's me.
That's the Honorable Nigel Catt.
And thank you. I want to thank you, Chairperson, Honorable Marcella Liebert, for giving me this opportunity to make a very brief statement. I want to fully associate myself with the remarks that you and our Senior Minister, the Honorable Earl Asim Martin have made, that it's really important that we, despite our varying views from time to time, are able to move forward on consensus, and that is what this is all about. I want to say, since I've been here, 2004, as a member of the cabinet, firstly as a junior minister, now as a full minister, I believe that with the guidance and support of all the colleagues, I've been able to help the government to make an impact on the lives of the people. I believe that during my tenure as Junior Minister of Technology in particular, the country got a new sense of what technology was all about and what it could do to transform our society, our education system, the government. And that, I think, is a very good thing. This term, I have been given the opportunity to serve as the Minister of Education in the federal government of St. Kitts and Nevis. This, again, is a pleasure for me to do, although I believe that you would acknowledge that it is in fact a very difficult task which needs the support of all of my colleagues and all of those good people who work in the Ministry of Education at varying levels, from the PSC or right down. We have been focusing on curriculum revision and development, and in fact just recently we have appointed a new Director of Curriculum Development in the person of Dr. Eva Bowen, because for quite some time people in the country have been talking about the success rate of our students in primary school, particularly in the areas of mathematics and English. And we believe that we need to take a hard and long look at what we're doing to ensure that the curriculum remains relevant, but at the same time is pitched at a level that inspires and encourages success among our students and also our teachers, because they too feel a sense of failure when their students fail. I've just been given the responsibility for the Ministry of Agriculture, but before I go there for 1 minute, we continue to look at an education foundation into which we expect significant inflows of money to help in the proper maintenance of our schools. This is an area of concern for many in recent times. And so we expect that to be launched in the next month or two, and we can expect to see the full implementation of a maintenance team for all of our schools, so that we are not in the business of fire outing, but we are really in the business of preventative maintenance and making sure that our school bathrooms and rooms and all those things are secure and safe for all of our people. With respect to agriculture, the issues, as I understand them, having just taken up the portfolio, is to look at land distribution to so many of our young people who are desirous of becoming farmers and feel that there's a hindrance to their being given the opportunity by land not being allocated to them. We also believe that land preparation assistance is critically important, because many of these young farmers don't have the wherewithal to prepare the land for themselves, buy all the inputs, the seeds, etc., despite the regime which has existed in terms of they're getting concessions on certain materials. So those are some of the urgent things which I will certainly want to pay attention to, and I know that my colleagues will give me the very strong and urgent support to get these matters through. Thank you very much.
Thank you, the Honorable Nigel Carty, and we'll move quickly to the Honorable Glenn, I nearly said Ghost, Philip.
Can't run for my name, I guess. Good morning, members of the press, the listening public, and also my colleague who's here at the head table. I certainly would like to associate myself and express the sentiments that was made by the Honorable Earl Asim Martin, Senior Minister, et al., and also my colleague, Ms. Marcella Aliba. What I would like to say is that my ministry continues to function. I think that is very important. As a matter of fact, we have recently established a network for our school program, which is called the EduNet program, that will be launched shortly. What that is that each secondary school within the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis will be provided with its own Wi-Fi or internet access that will be complementary to those persons who have received laptops and those persons who will receive laptops in the near future, that will help them with their educational goals and responsibility. I also like to state in the Ministry of Sport, we have just received a new track at the Silver Jubilee Stadium. It's here in the Federation. It came in sometime last month to be installed early next month, the month of February. Over the past couple of months, the track at the Silver Jubilee was degrading because of wear and tear. And so we have gotten a new track from Mondo, free of cost, that's supposed to be installed shortly. I'd like to also say that the Cabinet also, a matter of a couple weeks ago, has approved the lighting of the Warner Park Cricket Stadium. I know there's much talk in the press lately about a regional one-day competition, and certainly St. Kitts and Nevis will be putting themselves in a position to be a part of this one-day series. And so the Cabinet, my colleagues, has approved lighting at the Warner Park Stadium, which should be starting shortly. I would like to say also, and piggybacking on what my colleague has said, I too believe in what we call collective responsibility. It's not every time that we agree on all the point, but consensus takes precedence over what we deliberate on. And so in that context, let me say once again that we do not always agree. However, consensus, because if we look for a unanimous decision, then there'll be chaos throughout. Because if someone here disagrees in a particular situation, then maybe the next time someone could deliberately not agree, and you see where we are. It'll be strictly chaos. So based on what I said, I really thank you for coming here today. I also like to say I wish the member from number 3 all the best. He has served with distinction, and I wish him all the best in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, the Honorable Glenn Phillip. I will skip the Honorable Earl Assi-Martin for now and move to the Honorable Patrice Nisbet.
Good morning, members of the media, and to those at the head table, Dr. Earl Assi-Martin, Honorable Marcella Liebert, the chairperson for this morning proceedings. Let me first of all say that I would want to endorse the statement that was made by Dr. Earl Assi-Martin a while ago, and to say that I have been tasked with the Ministry of Justice, Legal Affairs, International Trade, Industry, Commerce, and Consumer Affairs. And it is quite evident that these ministries are in fact functioning, because I believe at present the assizes are ongoing and the courts are in session. But some time ago, we started a serious program of reform in the criminal justice system in St. Kitts and Nevis. And we were able to achieve certain deliverables, all in an effort to strengthen and improve the administration of justice in the area of criminal justice. And I would want this morning to say to the general public that we intend to continue the work that was started, and sometime soon one would see new pieces of legislation being brought forward to further strengthen and to further make improvements in that area. For example, we intend to move forward with the DNA bill. We also intend to move forward with reform of our jury system in St. Kitts and Nevis. And also, we intend to make some serious changes in terms of our criminal procedure so as to make the administration of justice much more efficient and much more effective. We had also done some work in terms of our prosecuting service, where we had established a national prosecuting service in St. Kitts and Nevis, all in an effort to improve the effectiveness of our prosecutors here in St. Kitts and Nevis. I have also been tasked quite recently with the Ministry of International Trade, Industry, Commerce and Consumer Affairs, and as I understand it, what we need to do is to continue the work that has been started. I think the ministry has a very clear work program outlined, and one of the very urgent matters that has to be addressed is the issue of the accession to the Guyana-Brazil Partial Scope Agreement. We need to ensure that we continue the work so that our manufacturers can have the necessary preferential access to that market. And we intend in short order to conclude our discussions and our consultations with the local manufacturers and with the Guyanese and the Brazilian officials so that the rules governing that arrangement can be codified and solidified so that all who need the necessary access can understand the arrangement under which that access will be given. And so, with the full cooperation of the officials in the different ministries, we will be able to advance the work of the ministry and the agenda of the government in the areas that I have been tasked with. And I do expect to get the full support of the different ministers who are here and those who are absent. I would also want to take the opportunity while I'm here to thank the member for number 3 for his service to the, as a cabinet minister, for his service to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, and to wish him well in his future endeavors. May it please you.
Thank you, the Honorable Patrice Nisbet. I'll now call on our newest member of the cabinet, the Honorable Jason Hamilton, our new Attorney General, to say a few words.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I'd like to say good morning to the members of the press corps that's here assembled this morning, to my cabinet colleagues. I'm speaking from the office of the Attorney General. I've just recently been sworn into that position, but I would like to associate myself with the comment that have been made by the Senior Minister, Dr. Martin, on my own accord and also under the arrangement of collective responsibility that operates and I am bound by having taken the position of Attorney General. The Office of Attorney General is the principal legal advisor to the government. Within that ambit also falls the responsibility of carrying forward the government's legislative agenda. Some of the things that have been accomplished in the last year under that agenda includes the passage of the Law Commission Bill that was passed in 2012. That bill gives the necessary legislative framework in place to ensure the continuous updating of our laws and to work on critical areas of law reform. In 2013, some of the ambitious goals set on the legislative agenda includes the continued work on family law reform. That is something that the Minister of Health has been adamant in seeing the passage of, and we will continue to try to update the laws to reflect an evolving society. Also, the fight against corruption. We will soon have tabled the Integrity in Public Life Bill and the Corruption Prevention Bill. These are matters that have been decided by the Cabinet and are in the process of being drafted to bring to the National Assembly. Also, the legislative framework surrounding the gaming sector that now plays some part in our economic development. We recognize as a cabinet that that has to be overhauled to make it more consumer-friendly, contemporary, and relevant. In terms of the continued work in the health sector, it is anticipated that we would also introduce legislation that deals and regulates with pharmacies and the revision of the Medical Act, which is long overdue. There's also new legislation that has been proposed in relation to the Mental Health Act. and we hope to have that before the House shortly as well. The technology sector is an emerging sector, and we in the Office of the Attorney General recognize that that is something that needs urgent attention so that the technology doesn't run away with us in the Federation. The education sector is also a sector that we have identified where the Ministry of Education has indicated certain priorities that they would wish for legislation to fall under that would make the system more coherent and more manageable. Finally, in keeping with the identified needs, the international transport sector is another area that the chambers of the Attorney General will be putting attention on in terms of bringing legislation forward to deal with the demand increase in regulations regarding safety, traffic control, and matters of that sort. Clearly, the goals that have been set for the Office of the Attorney General in 2013 under the legislative agenda is very ambitious. When coupled with the magnitude of the work that has been provided to the chambers and Parliament itself, the tasks assigned are daunting, but we'll make our very best efforts to try to achieve that agenda during the calendar year. We'll strive to promote the principles of natural justice and the rule of law, which is something that the Office of the Attorney General has always striven to do. I would like to thank, in closing, my predecessor, Mr. Nisbet, who has been most helpful to me in the transition period at this time. We continue to work together. We have known each other personally before in different capacities, and he has been very helpful in making that transition. There's an overlap between the ministries of Justice and Legal Affairs, and so our collaborative efforts and also the efforts of the rest of the Cabinet are needed to push the agenda forward. Thank you, and thank you for giving me this opportunity.
We want to thank the Honorable Attorney General, Mr. Jason Hamilton, for his remarks, and we will now call on the Honorable Dr. Earl Asim Martin to give us his 2 cents worth.
Thank you very much, Honorable Master Alived. I myself want to highlight a few of the activities that are presently taking place in the Ministry of Housing, Public Works, Public Utilities, and Energy. I want to first of all look at the issue of energy. The ministry over the last 2.5 years, we have been concentrating on the process of renewable energy because we are fully aware that fossil fuels cannot continue to be the route in which we want to generate energy, electricity in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And with assistance from the Taiwanese, the Republic of China and Taiwan, we have been able to install almost 250 solar and LED lights along the Kim Collins Highway, Frigate Bay Road, and also in the Sandy Point area all the way down to St. Paul's. We are in the process of, at the moment, in negotiations with a company out of the Republic of China and Taiwan for the construction of a solar farm at the RLB airport. That, in a sense, will provide almost 1 megawatt of electricity to the airport. That same company, in a matter of a couple of months, will be setting up a factory here for the manufacturing of solar panels. That solar panels will assist the overall government's project in terms of supplying not only our nationals here on the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, but expanding their supplies regionally and internationally. And I think this is a good development because not only will provide jobs for our citizens in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, but it will also provide the opportunity for a new dimension in the Federation, in the sense a new area of work where people will have to be trained in the installation and in the manufacturing of such solar panels. And we think this is the right direction that the country would want to move in providing green energy for the people of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. We're also in discussions with North Star. This is the ongoing discussions we've been having with the company North Star for the establishment of a wind farm in the Bellevue area that will provide 4 to 5 megawatts of energy to the national grid that will assist us also in reducing our footprints, our carbon footprints on a whole. We are also in discussions presently, the ministry with SCELEC and the SIDF in rolling out a program that will be able to provide solar panels to customers out there who are presently obtaining electricity from SCELEC. This will do two things. It will help in the overall reduction in those consumers' bill in terms of the reduction in cost of electricity. And at the same time, we expect to transform SCELEC that will provide the facility that those persons would have been involved in this program will have the opportunity, in essence, to be selling their electricity back into the grid and, in a sense, generating some revenue of their own. We are in discussions. We expect that those discussions will conclude very shortly, and between SCELEC and the SIDF and the ministry will expound on this matter in more detail as we go forward. We are also in the process of looking at the overall infrastructure on the island, and I refer specifically to roads. Presently at this moment at my ministry, there's a meeting presently ongoing with respect to the Southeast Peninsula, the redevelopment of the Southeast Peninsula. We have already started some road works in the Cockleshell Bay area, and very shortly, by tomorrow, we'll be opening tenders on the Timothy Hill area, also on the drainage aspect on the Pond Road area and the Sandown Road area, and hopefully starting very shortly to the reconstruction of the Marriott roundabout. That is a multi-million-dollar project that has been financed jointly by the government of St. Kitts and Nevis, and also by donors out there have come forward to assist the government in this moment in the upgrading of our infrastructure. We understand the importance of that road. That road sits right into the middle of some of our major economic developments in terms of the construction of hotels that would have outlined, the Prime Minister had the opportunity to outline most recently, and we would want to make sure we have a road carriage that will be able to provide the type of atmosphere to not only to our visitors, but to our most importantly to our citizens of the Federation who will use that road. We are also ongoing with the resurfacing of roads in the various communities around the island. Those of us who will be paying keen attention would have seen some resurfacing taking place in the Newtown area, in the New Pond site area, in the McKnight area. And we expect to expand. We have had some resurfacing over in the Tabernacle area and in the St. Johnson Village area, and also in the Trafalgar area. We expect as we move on, the whole resurfacing program will continue to touch with those communities that are basically in need of that aspect of infrastructure. We are also looking at the areas that persons in communities that would have acquired houses or gotten houses from the National Housing Corporation that are still without roads. We hope that very shortly we'll be able to roll out the development of those roads in those communities that persons would have gotten NHC housing and various communities all around the island. Will be able to address that very shortly. The other area of infrastructure development is those persons who would have purchased land from the Land Sales Agency. We do appreciate that some of those lands are still without infrastructure, water, roads, and electricity. And we have already started an ongoing program to provide those facilities to those communities so we can have the type of economic development that we expect persons will be able to use to go to the various financial institutions to take advantage of the program that was just outlined by the SIDF and the various financial institutions that have provided a reduction in the interest rate to almost 5%, that will provide the construction of new homes, provide opportunities for our citizens, and provide employment in the various areas. We are also looking at the same time, as I mentioned, these same areas because I also have the responsibility for water. And we do understand the importance of water in our life. And we want to make sure that the development, the infrastructure development do continue in the laying of pipes, the maintenance, and to make sure that we have adequate potable water for the citizens of the Federation. as was indicated most recently, a couple of weeks ago, there was a notice out by the manager of the water department indicating that we have to, in a way, work together, because it's expected that throughout the course of this year, we'll be experiencing a very dry season, and we will have to look at very serious ways in terms of how we begin to conserve and to make sure that we use our potable water as wisely as possible. So basically, that is an appeal that I'm making at this moment. I think that I have dealt with most of the major issues that the ministry are presently undertaking at this moment. Minister.
I want to thank the Honorable Earl Asim Martin for his 2 minutes. I wish at this time to look at about 3 quickly specific things to do with the ministry, my own ministry. First of all, I want to deal with health. And the most critical thing that we're looking at right now is national health insurance. That is extremely important to all of us. We have, throughout the course of 2012, been working hard on trying to have a national health insurance for all the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis. And so we have had certain components of it done already. For example, part of it was looking at the insurance for public servants. As you know, that about August of last year, a new insurance policy was put in place for public servants to cover them even in cases of serious diseases like cancer, which is really something that is affecting our country seriously in terms of the cost, because of course we would not be able, as a government, no government, the same argument you have in the US, would be able to cover the costs of all of the persons who got diagnosed with very serious diseases like cancer. And so health costs is a serious issue for us, and we decided that this is one particular issue that we must do for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. And so that has been done for all of our public servants, whether they are those who we used to call non-establishment workers. I think we have a different name for them now. Auxiliary workers, all are covered under this health plan. The next phase was to look at those persons who basically are at the lowest end of our income bracket who cannot help themselves. We have a policy right now where through the social services program, through our social protection program, these people can access some form of assistance when they have to go overseas, for example, for health reasons. We help them in whatever way we can, but there's always a sum. I think right now is limited to $5,000 per person for any time they have to travel abroad for some health issue. Just recently, we sent a young man off to Cuba who was diagnosed with cancer through the ministry and through this initiative. But we do this all along. And what we're saying is that we would never be able to supply, because with respect, if you're diagnosed with cancer, $5,000, really, in the scheme of things. And so it's very important for us to ensure that we get a national health scheme on board. So for those persons, what we're seeking to do is to put the funds that are provided for them right now as part of the government budget into an insurance. We have ongoing discussions with that, and it is felt that once we can provide insurance for that section of the population, then they will be better able to access more for whenever they're diagnosed with whatever it is and they have to go abroad, and we'll take all of this into consideration. So there's where we are with respect to that section of the populace who can't look after themselves. We're now left, according to all of the research and the data that we have, with about 30% of our people who don't have any insurance at all. Because you have the government workers, you have those persons who are working in private companies who have insurance through their workplaces. Quite a number of workplaces have that, and we want to commend them for that. So when you consider that these persons are covered through their workplace policies, and those under the public service, and now those, like I said, the indigent who we are looking to cover through this insurance plan, you're now left with about 30% of the population not covered. And it's that 30% that we're having deep discussion on now as to how to go forward with a national health plan that would cover that 30% and so get everybody in St. Kitts and Nevis covered by health insurance. So that is something that we are currently working on. I know that it's very important. I think the Attorney General spoke to our legislative agenda quite a bit. He didn't include the Public Health Act, which is also under reform and which should come before the Parliament shortly. In terms of women, there's a program that we're launching next week called WISE, Women in Small Enterprises, where we're giving some assistance to them, because from all reports, we see even though our poverty rate is going down, it's still women who are more affected in terms of poverty than men are. And we believe that, and you know, I mean, let's be frank, that wherever the women are, the children are, by and large. And so the women look after the family. And so under the WISE program, what we're looking to do is to try to help and assist those women who sell trays, those women who have very small shops, the women who are in these very, very micro businesses, to help them to help themselves in terms of their turnover and so on. So that's a program that should be launched, I think, next week. Before I go on to briefly say something about culture, I wish at this point to extend condolences to the family of Tambora Kitwana, who was a cultural icon for us. He worked at the Ministry of Culture for years, and I know you know him associated mostly with Under Banyan Tree. And so we want to, on behalf of the ministry, on behalf of the government, on my own behalf, to express our condolences to the family of Tambora Kitwana. And my understanding is that the funeral takes place this Saturday at the Gardens playing field, but I believe you will hear more of the details of the funeral. In terms of culture, we just completed what I would consider to be a successful carnival. I think most people thought that it was one of the biggest, if not the biggest, they've ever seen in terms of the street parades. We still have some issues to sort out in terms of the delay and so on, but in terms of the general participation, we would want to thank people for really participating this year, especially our young people in the carnival. And we have had our prize giving last week, so I don't think the media will have too many issues with money this year. We would want the carnival office to remain open for the duration of this year and going forward. So even though we had to relocate, I think that is the idea, to keep the carnival office open throughout the entire year, and you would hear more about this as we go along as well. But I want to say that because this year is the 30th anniversary of independence, we in the Ministry of Culture, we're looking forward to having a really big and exciting community arts festival to coincide with the 30th anniversary of independence. And that is being worked on as we speak. And so we will work in conjunction with Carnival, of course, to ensure and to make sure that all the communities are involved in the various art forms and to promote the various art forms at this 30th anniversary Community Arts Festival, as I said, to coincide with the 30th anniversary of independence in September of this year. And so I would pause at this time, and before I open up for questions from you and welcome your questions, I wish at this point to apologize for the absence of the Honorable Richard Skerritt, who is away on government duty. So now it's your turn, and we welcome your questions. Thank you.